and welcome back to another episode 7 of
Woohoo!
This Is Why I'm Sober podcast. My name is Chris Kelly,
And I'm Abby Rose.
and yeah, great to have you all join us. Abby, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing good. Just cruising. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a couple weeks. We decided we're going to start releasing these every 2 weeks. So it's great to see you back on the screen and great to be chatting with you again after this, what feels like a very long time, but it's only been 2 weeks. But yeah, so just getting right into it, I guess. It's, I have been, so just to give a little background, I'm graduating with my master's degree in 2 weeks, right? Like I'll be done. This is something I've been on for over doing for almost for 2 years, basically. And so I just been doing a lot of like reflecting, you know. I'm just kind of in shock that I was like actually able to like do this, because I mean, this was only like 6 or 7 months after maybe 8 months after like I got clean. You know what I mean? Like I like jumped in and started this program, and here we are now, like holy shit, two years later already. And so I just been doing like a lot of reflecting on just where the hell does energy come from? Like not only have I been like doing this master's degree full time, working full time. I'm now very present in my daughter's life, paying bills, you know, um, starting this brand. This is why I'm sober with you, and I know both of us putting a ton of time into not only the podcast but like the website, the store, just and I'm just like, holy shit. Like I didn't know that I had the capacity or the bandwidth to be able to do things. You know what I mean? I mean, and so when I've been thinking about this, and I'm obviously like celebrating this. I mean, I feel now that in my recovery, like I think it's super important to be able to like celebrate and even the small wins. But so then I started thinking like, holy shit, like what did I spend 30 years of my life doing? Because I feel like I probably had the same amount of energy. If I mean, and I was younger, so I mean, I probably had even more energy. But like, I never really accomplished. I mean, I accomplished things, but it wasn't like anything that I could. It wasn't anything like this. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like things are just flowing. The gears are just like moving, and I don't know. I just when I was drinking, it was like I do something, and it was almost like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, or just pitfalls, ruts here and there, things like that. And I just started thinking about where did it, what where I had the energy, but what the fuck was I doing with it, right? So I thought tonight's topic we might just kind of talk about that, like whether we want to call it like transfer of energy from when we were like deep in use to like now in sobriety, like mental, emotional, physical, like gymnastics that I know personally I put myself through like 24/7.
Yeah.
And then now like kind of taking that energy and applying it toward like benefit my life. And I wanted to just kind of hear your thoughts on that. Like what have your experiences been like, comparing sort of like back then to like now, like what kind of things have you noticed in just your basically your energy?
Right. That is great questions and a great topic, I feel. Uh, could definitely probably talk about it till the cows came home, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to think on some comparisons. What comes to mind immediately would be yeah, that whole I relate so much to, if I had big ideas, if I had goals, if I had things I wanted to pursue while I was in my heavy usage days, while I was in this mindset of doing things, I was just making landmines for myself, right? So
Mm,
I might start heading towards it and then it blowing up in my face, getting discouraged, let alone just the mental toll drinking and hard drugs put on my capacity and my worth anyway. My mind didn't think I was capable to follow through. I didn't show myself I had the follow through. Just
yeah.
when I would say I'm gonna cut back on drinking, I'm only gonna have a few drinks and not, I would never show myself I could actually do that. And so I never showed myself I would, but I was to the bar, just fine. Even if that wasn't my goal, then I was there.
Right.
I,
Amazing how that works.
yeah, right? I would go to the bar and be like, I'm not gonna buy anything, I'll just buy one drink. But then, you're at the bar, people end up buying you drinks anyway. But anyway, that's kind of off topic.
Uh,
Um,
Sounds like
but
a lot of
yeah,
energy.
it was so much of making the time to consume the alcohol, making the time to do the hard drugs, making the time to even just include it into my daily life. So, for an example, going to community football games or the grocery store, even just having to have a beer or a shot or something factored into that part of my day
Yeah.
and taking that time to plan it out. Even smoking cigarettes, it was years after I already quit, and there was a time I was about to leave town, and I was like, okay, if I go now, I can smoke a cigarette, and then I can go. And I'm like, I haven't had a cigarette in years. It's just making time for the things I wanted to do like that were so important to me. If I went on family trips, I would just make sure I factored in when I could get away with what because I didn't want people to smell anything on me.
Mm.
Um, just taking like being so planning out so many details that were not great for me, but were great for me, great for my
Hmm.
addiction, great for making myself feel better because I could have what was soothing me and making me feel like I could do the things,
Yeah.
um, to work all night. And then, like, especially when I lived in Las Vegas, I'd go to work, I'd get off of work, I'd walk down to the cantina, and I'd go and stop and get me a big, giant, huge beer to drink on my way to the cantina, of course. And then I would
Yeah.
get there and I'd partying. And in Vegas, bars and clubs don't close till 7 a.m.
Mhm.
So I would be out all night long. Even if I had great intentions, I would miraculously get home somehow. And then I'd have work at 9 in the morning in Henderson. So I'd have to like literally get home. I'd like power nap for 15 minutes. And then I'd jump up, hurry and shower, just throw everything on and get out the door again to get to work where I know I reeked because it would only been a few hours since I stopped consuming alcohol. But it was so I made time for that. I made time for
Yeah.
having no time to do other things. So circling to when I actually got sober, and I mentioned this in another podcast. And if you're just seeing this episode for the first time and haven't seen all the ones before, I'm about in April, I'll be 7 years free from alcohol and
Hell yeah.
um, nicotine that same day. And I am just past the mark of 7 years free from meth. And so when I first got to that point of actually making this long of space with it, that was 2019. And I could go back into my journals and show just different times I've had ideas and business plans. I could even just wanting to start a smart recovery. While I was on meth, I had this dream of starting a smart recovery for my
Yeah.
community where I live, just all the things, right? Like, but I could have done it right then, but I looked into it. I looked into how
Yeah.
to get, you know, anyway. But following through for myself wasn't strong. So 2019 gets here and I hadn't been working a lot. It was when I was my longest usage of meth consecutively, and I just lost all the F's to give. And I um, immediately started working 3 jobs and was just very gung-ho about being a productive citizen and being a productive mother and being productive to myself. Um, but I also started I always wanted to be a musician ever since I was little. I would write songs. I always have music playing in my head, even if it's a silent room. There's something happening inside of me
Uh,
that's musical, whether it be a song I already know from an artist or just me making up music. And I never followed through for myself through my addiction.
mhm.
And I wouldn't even, I was terrified to even sing in front of people and to do those types of things. And so now I've been putting that energy towards becoming braver to sing in front of people, becoming braver to play my songs. And yeah, so I joined a band. I was in a cover band at first, and I was in a band where we did originals. And then that ended as well. So now I've been in a season where I am doing solo things, and it's been really cool to follow through for myself and to utilize that energy in ways where I'm not having to factor that in to my daily happenings. And I'm not having to I mean, I think about how hard I partied. And had I been a musician and actually pursued that while I was such a heavy partier, I don't know what would have happened to me, honestly, because maybe that's why I was kept from it. Maybe that energy didn't go to until I could actually make actual good use of it.
Yeah.
But it's been, now that I have the time and the energy to do towards productive things in my life, then it's definitely become something where it's like I don't want to ever waste my time anymore because I've
Yeah.
wasted thousands and thousands of hours and daylight and nighttime and opportunity and just all the things.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's been nice to actually, and there's times, to actually follow through for myself, but also I've had to take the energy and forgive myself for the time not following through for myself. I think
Yeah.
that's a big one as well, is giving ourselves grace because obviously as we heal and remember and see things from a healed brain perspective, um, I don't want to waste too much time being stuck in shame because
Yeah.
shame doesn't get me anywhere. I can use my guilt in a healthy way to keep me from repeating those same mistakes and putting my time where I shouldn't. But it also helps me reflect of where even just sober activities, if I'm not utilizing my time well for what I really want in life. Because again, I've wasted so much time and obviously wouldn't have if I were me that I am today back then, but I wouldn't be me today if it weren't
Yeah.
for me. So I appreciate all of those seasons for the strength that they built in me and for just the knowing that it's only me against myself. And do I want to live the life that I want, or do I not want to live the life that I want? Because I know what paths can take me where at this point, you know?
Yeah. 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 Wow.
Yeah.
Man, excellent points. God, you bring up so much good stuff. First and foremost, congratulations on seven
It
years.
feels
Fantastic, man. Um, God, and yeah, God, yeah. So I don't even know where to begin because like that's just hearing you say this stuff. I mean, it just started bringing up. It literally started bringing up like emotions in me, just like thinking about like you know, not just like wasted time, but like the time that we really have to like sit in the and sit in that guilt and shame and regret, but then move past it because I think one of the biggest fallacies maybe of recovery is like you get sober and it's just all fucking butterflies and rainbows. You know what I mean? And it's not like, you
Isn't
know,
our life perfect after that?
no, especially when you get out, when the first, the honeymoon phase, people call it the pink cloud or whatever, and it's like
Mhm.
go go go, and when things start to settle down and reality starts to become real, right? Like you do have to have these reflective moments, and I think, you know, I think it's dangerous to avoid. If we're feeling some regret, guilt, shame, we can't
Yeah.
avoid it because I mean, think about why did we use drugs for fucking decades? Like to avoid in the life, like avoidance was our goal. You know what I mean? So it's like it's almost like a slippery slope going back into that mentality if we're not willing to like face the those feelings. And but the other side of that though, the other side of that coin is like, yeah, we can sit in it for a healthy amount of time, but we got to move past it
Yeah.
because we can't let it. We addicts spend so much of their lives, their time, and energy giving their control and power to their addiction. And then when we
Yeah.
get recovered, we finally have it back. It's like, why would we want to give that control and power back to things that happened in the past that we have no control over, right? We can
I
learn
think
from
that's a slippery slope where if you let yourself steep in it too long, that's when you're going to be the most susceptible to relapse again
it.
because
Yeah,
you're going to be so overwhelmed by that.
yeah,
That's, it's a slippery
yeah,
slope.
yeah, yeah. You sit in that guilt, shame, regret for too long. Yeah. I mean, it could easily trigger just a case of the fuck. It's like, well, I've wasted 30 years of my life. I might as well just, yeah, yeah, cool, cool, cool. I'm, like I'm sober now, but what, but do I really have to face these emotions sober? Do I actually have to sit with them now? Like, fuck that. I'm going back. You know what I mean? It's
Right?
it's it's
Yeah.
scary and it's hard, but I think making sure we are intentional about not avoiding it, but making it intentional to say, cool, it happened, it's in the past. I'm not going to ruminate, but I can learn, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. Yeah, how man, so I guess just thinking about that, I didn't even really think this deeply into it prior to like your what you've been saying. So obviously, your story was pretty powerful because it sparked a lot of thoughts and emotions in me. But like, yeah, like when you're talking about like I can't go to the grocery store without like making sure I had something to drink, or I can't, go to like wherever, you know what I mean? And it's like, man, just the amount of energy that I put into just making sure that I could get throughout the next day with a drink somewhere in the vicinity so that I could function, right? Like, and it just shows the absolute like horrifying power of addiction, where it
Mhm.
literally like it just we just give so much of our power and control away to it. That's like I I have to have within an arm's length of a drink at any moment, because if I start to go through withdrawals, if I start to shake or if I start to get the pukes, like I know that if I don't take care of this within minutes, like I might actually have a seizure and die. Like that's where
Right.
it was. And so it's like constantly like I had hiding places everywhere, outside, in my garage, in my
Yeah.
living room, like behind the computer, in my car, like outside of my car, like and my God, like what the hell kind of life is that? Like I,
Right.
and just thinking about it, like, I would wake up and I would leave to go to work. And this is horrible because whatever, it is what it is. What am I going to do? Right. Except for learn from it. I would go and I would make sure that I could get to a liquor store right when it opened, and I would get what I thought I needed to get to lunch. And then lunch, I'd go to another liquor store and get what I thought I needed to get in the day. And then at the end of the day, then I had to go, because in my mind it was so savvy to like only go to one liquor store and then one liquor store, and in the day go to like four liquor stores, right? Because
Right.
it was such a much longer, from 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. the next morning. Like that's a lot of hours to cover, so I need a lot of shit, right? So I'm like, oh, they'll never remember that I was here at 8 this morning or noon. Like I'll go back and so, and then like, making sure that my phone was like, I accidentally left my phone somewhere, or oh, I don't know what happened. My phone must have died because I had, I could be tracked. We had like the family thing. So
Mhm.
making sure like that I wasn't being able to be tracked. And then like, running to this place to get this and running to this place. And then like, I remember going to Maverick because I never had cash because, well, an addict. And so, and I didn't want to like look like I was like I couldn't use my debit card at the liquor store, right? Because that's traceable. And so like I remember going to Maverick, and you used to be able to get one Tootsie Roll for 10 cents. So I'd go up there and I'd get a Tootsie Roll and I'd pull $20 cash out and I'd go spend that. And then at lunch, Tootsie Roll, $20, go spend that. After school, Tootsie Roll, go spend that, right? And I mean, it was just like, and then like I mean, and the amount of times that I like was just driving while I mean, like I like to believe that I was like functioning, and I guess I was, but it's nothing to celebrate. But like, just
Right.
driving, like I mean, just driving constantly. Like I don't know, like I guess if I got pulled over, one time out of every 100 that I was under the influence, I'd probably still have 1,000 DUIs because it was just like constant. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it wasn't me. Like it was my, I mean, it was me, but it was like this control that this my addiction had over me. It was just constantly like it was like putting puzzle pieces together throughout the course of the day. And it was like I was like timed because at any moment I could start shaking, and then like hiding, and then like sneaking out to the garage to drink them. And like, I remember like driving down the road and being like, oh my God, I'm getting sick. But I was like out in the open, and I'd like my car was so fucking clean, Abby, because I'd go into the drive-through um car washes just so I had a couple minutes of isolation from the world, to just throw a couple back because I was just so afraid that I might like actually like die. Like, I mean, that's just, and
Yeah.
just the mental, emotional, physical gymnastics that I like put myself through every single day. Like, no wonder I didn't accomplish that much because I was 95% of my energy was just like, how do I get through today without dying? And 5% of it was like, okay, I still have a family and a job and like responsibilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh my God. Like I don't know how I didn't actually like have like a anxiety induced or paranoia induced heart attack at some point
Oh, man.
because it was just like I don't have you ever seen the movie Casino?
I feel like yes, but a long
Like
time ago.
yeah, like but anyway, there's a scene where like Joe Pesci's character, Nicky, and he's like going from car to car to car, like because he knows the FBI is watching him, and so he's like speeding out and like pulling into into a parking garage, like getting out and running over real quick to another car, and then speeding out and like peeling out and running and going to this one, and he's always evading the FBI and evading the cops, and I kind of feel like that was me, you know what I mean? And it wasn't the FBI I was like hiding from or like trying to escape from. It was, you can call it a bunch of things. It was like, being traced by, being tracked by my phone or my spending habits or, you know,
Yeah.
or just evading my life in general, right? But it was all because it was just this absolute control and power that my addiction had over me, and my utter willingness to just freely give it away, right? And it's just unbelievable that I didn't actually like my heart didn't explode because it was so nerve-wracking and so anxiety inducing and the paranoia constantly like, oh my
And feel
God.
like your breath smells or
Oh, and oh, not to mention that aspect. I can't even think about. I mean, I've thought about it, but in this conversation, just like, yeah, playing like cover up and like playing like defend, like, and coming up with excuses, right? Like this Rolodex of excuses in my mind constantly. Where were you? Oh, well, I had to run over here because, oh, I had to do this because, and well, yeah, no, I just, or like, oh my God, like I remember like during COVID, I loved wearing the mask.
right?
I mean, I hated it, but I loved it because it was like an additional layer, so like people can smell me. Oh my God, dude, what a life! Well, I call it what life, right? It wasn't living. It
Yeah.
wasn't living. It was escaping.
I
It
hear
was
you.
just, I mean, just trying to avoid reality, trying to avoid responsibility, trying to
Oh,
avoid like physical withdrawals. It was just all avoidance, and so I mean, it's like, yeah, we drink, we use to like escape life, but man, we're doing a whole lot more escaping than just like life. Like we're escaping our like functionality as a human being. Uh,
ourselves. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just escaping ourselves, right?
Um,
And, yeah. So with that said, my gosh, now I guess I understand a little more clear just by talking it out with you. Like, wow, like what if I had put the bottle down when I was 25 years old? Like what the fuck would my life look like? I mean, granted, I am who I am today because of every decision, bad and good, that I've ever made. And I have a beautiful life right now. I love my daughter more than anything. I'm present in her life, and that's the most important thing to me. But I am, doing this podcast with you, doing this business with you, doing this brand with you. Working like feel like I'm like giving back to my community, and so I
yeah.
mean, and I just don't know if because you mentioned what if I had started my music career 20 years ago, or whatever. It's like, well, we can sit there and we can think all we want, but I also think it's really dangerous to play the coulda, shoulda, woulda game. With
Oh,
that
yeah.
said, what the hell if I would have put the bottle down 25 years ago, 20 years ago? Like, what if I actually started investing, even if I invested half of my energy into that paranoid lifestyle, into something good for my life? Like, you know, who
Like you're
knows?
doing
But
school.
what's that? Sorry.
Like you're doing now with going to school and stuff, if you would have, which is amazing. It's amazing that you're about to graduate and all of those things and really did transfer that energy into good things into your life. But I hear you. It definitely would have been cool if we could have learned a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and well, we'll obviously talk about money in a later episode. But like we haven't even talked about the monetary financial burden that we put on ourselves and those around us, our loved ones and our families. Like, my God, I don't even want to think about it. I mean, I was mentioning to you how, and I'll talk about it more in depth later on, but I pulled an emergency $500 emergency loan out of my student loans to pay for a summer of drinking. Like that's really the goal. Like me and my buddy did this, and like, that was in 2001. It's like I was saying, shit, if I would have pulled $500 out in 2001 and bought 5 acres in Moab, outside of Moab, this shit would be worth $20 million right now. But you know,
Yeah.
I don't. I don't. And the other part of this too, and it kind of goes into like accepting that, sitting with that guilt and shame and regret and things like that. But like I think to really coming to the conclusion at the end of the day, whether that's every single night when I'm doing my gratitude lists or whatever, like I am grateful for the life I have today. And a lot of it is because of the life that I did live. And it was unfortunate, but I think acceptance and acknowledgement of the fact that I really wouldn't change anything today. And a lot of that I do have to give credit to like my past, as unfortunate as it was, but I wouldn't be the same person that I am today without it. I might not have this ability to, or this willingness to take 98% of my daily energy and like put it towards something beneficial. I might not. I might be, just kind of a lump or something. I don't know. But like, I don't know.
It's true. I definitely learned a lot of resilience and continuing forward. There's things of course, wish I could change, but
Yeah.
I've also learned that that's energy I can't waste too much time on.
Yeah.
Again, but I don't know how much time I have left here,
Yeah.
and I don't want to waste more of it just wishing things were different because they are what they are now. And thank goddess it didn't take me 12 more years to get there. I
Mm.
didn't lose more teeth from meth, like just there's so many things to be grateful for that I need to focus on instead. And it does help me to forgive myself and move forward a lot just to remember where I come from and to remember where I have put my energy and where I have put my
Yeah.
time and that I do get brain cells that didn't melt away permanently
Yeah.
to rebuild and put towards something good for me instead, and I'm far from perfect. I'm always learning every day, but I'm so grateful I get to keep learning and I'm not in prison, I'm not dead, and I'm not so many things, so many places.
Yeah. 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 Really. Yeah. I mean, the fact that you and I are sitting here today, being able to talk about our experiences, you know, in a life of freedom, you know, free from addiction, free from legal system, free from, the morgue. I mean, it's just that, 5 years ago, I would have put money down that on, March 10th, 2026, I'd probably be dead. I
Yeah.
mean, I would bet the bank on it because I just didn't see a way out. And, but I guess it just goes to show you, mentioned the word resilience. Like that is just what a character trait to have developed, out of, we emerge out of the darkness and we are resilient, right? I like to call it being forged in fire, right? Like, I mean, I just feel so much stronger today because my life like had me like I was like a piece of iron, like in the fire, and like beat the shit out of it, and like dip it in oil, and like like oh my god, but it's like I feel like I'm much stronger because of it, and yeah, I'm glad you mentioned resilience because that's what a beautiful thing to have gained, right?
Us. Oh man, very grateful for that. I'm grateful
Yeah,
we both have gotten out and continue to make space from it. I'm
yeah,
I'm very reverent and I respect the addiction monster inside of me in the sense that I will never let myself get too comfortable where I think it will never happen to me again because I have to constantly just know that I have to be very purposeful with my choices and with my energy and with my time because I don't want to put myself susceptible to opening that door again.
yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. What you just meant, I'm sure we'll just spend an entire episode talking about that in and of itself. Just like, I always just think of it as like, the addiction's never gone. Like that's just, I think that's one of the first things that anybody like entering recovery needs to understand, that it's never, the addict brain is alive and well. And as a matter of fact, I think it's getting pretty fucking strong every single day. Right. But
Right.
we gotta like not only match that energy, but like increase that, right? By being intentional and being grounded and being mindful and like utilizing the toolbox, using that resilience.
Yeah.
Because, it's like I like to tell clients, tell myself every day, like when we're sleeping or we're taking a nap or we're just kind of whatever, like just walking around our day-to-day lives, that addiction's out in the parking lot behind us doing push-ups. Like it's never going to go away. And it's so scary how it can just reappear. I mean, that's why triggers and cravings are so detrimental. But
Yeah.
going in, sorry.
I said, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good.
And so yeah, just so I think just go entering every single day, understanding that and acknowledging it and knowing that, like, I mean, I get triggered at the craziest shit I never ever thought I'd ever get triggered by. But it's like, whoa. And then I have to step back and I'm like, ooh, almost got me there, bud. But I'm here and I'm like, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
When you
but
think about it, when we start our addictions, when that door opens, it's usually we're self-medicating in some form or fashion, right?
yeah.
I personally am neurodivergent. I have anxiety. I have depression that came with this body and brain of mine,
Mhm.
genetically even, and it's just so those types of things I've had to learn ways to deal with them healthily. And that's things that I've had to, change my neural pathways and change all of that to not need to medicate in that way and not need to self-soothe in that way and find the things that help me in a more positive way, the harm
Yeah.
reduction, the making time to work through the big emotions. Because my go-to was, oh, I'm getting fucked up tonight because I am stressed and it's been a hard day, but I could
Yeah.
find something to need relief from, all the time when I was stuck in that. And so it's just setting myself up for success and not failure at this
Yeah.
point. And I thought the more space I got with my sobriety, it would get easier and easier. And honestly, it just gets easier for me to forget or to soften, like, and wonder. I've said that before, these last few years have been the hardest. I've been triggered the most with life events and changes to where I've really had to just sit down with myself and ask myself, okay, then what do you really want then? Like
Yeah.
remembering my why and building on what life I am working my ass off to have
Yeah.
instead of letting myself be open to the susceptibility of not being as strong anymore. Because I don't want to let myself get too relaxed in that.
Yeah.
I want to move forward. I want to be in recovery. I don't want to dwell on it and be like, oh, I'm this broken individual every day. No, I'm strong and resilient and
Yeah.
I'm moving forward. And I need to respect the fact that that is something I'm not going to let myself get too laxed in.
No, can't. I mean, it's just simple. Like the amount of energy that we put into we just talked about the amount of energy we put into our addiction.
Mhm.
When we get to the other side, we have to, at the very least, match that energy on a day-to-day basis to stay away from that life and to learn from
Mhm.
that life. And yeah, because the second that, I think that's why relapse is I mean, we've said it before, but like, 15% of people that find sobriety stay and they die sober. And
Yeah.
those statistics aren't very good, but I think the reason why is because people get relaxed and they think that it's gone and it's just not. And so, I guess anybody that's like, listening tonight, if you're resonating with any of this stuff or just kind of figuring out or wondering like, is there hope? Like, I guess, I think I can speak on behalf of us. Yes, there's hope and
Yeah.
there's a way out. And as a matter of fact, you do get out and you start tasting that sobriety and you start like living it. Not only do you find yourself to be just so much stronger as a human being, but life just becomes clearer and life becomes so beautiful. And yeah, like just reach out, like reach out if you're struggling. Like if st- give the local counseling office or treatment facility a call and just be like, hey, I need help. Like do it. Like I understand that that phone call can weigh 10,000 pounds, but when you pick it up, like that could be life saving. You know, and if
Yeah.
you're listening and you're not, if you're listening and you're not an addict, like, and you know someone, reach out to them and just say, hey, I'm here for you. I get it. I understand. But like, you know, the connection is the opposite of addiction. And so just, you know, try to do the best you can to just try to stay connected. And even if right now it's just sitting here listening to us talk about our stuff, you know, if that helps, you know, just remember like there is a way out, and it's worth it. And yeah, I, uh, I'll end my rant there. But
I love it.
yeah,
I agree. I agree entirely. And I'm really grateful to everybody who does reach out to even just us to share their perspectives and their
uh,
journeys with us. It just it's I love that we can resonate with people in that way because there is always hope for all of us. And if you're not an addict, don't give up on your addict that you love because recovery is possible, change is possible, finding things to be healthily addicted to is possible. I became, just really what gets me going and gives me the dopamine hits is doing brave things and putting myself outside of my comfort zone and
mhm,
and people can find that. Everybody has capacity to grow and heal. And so,
yeah.
yeah.
And at, you know, we're not, we might we might experience temporary brokenness, but we're not broken. And you know, we can't, whether you know it's an addict like you or me, or somebody who, you know, knows an addict in their life, don't let don't let this disease define who they are, right? Don't let this disease define who you are.
Yes.
Um, so
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all of that and
uh,
for hearing me.
thank you so much. Yeah, it was wonderful talking to you. And yeah, I guess we'll just see you later. And everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. And
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk to you all later. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.